Well, the St. Louis Cardinals offense exploded today to start off a series against the Rays after a disappointing shutout at the hands of Sandy Alcantara the day prior. It's got us thinking, which of the Cardinals' young bats should they be looking to build around heading into 2026? Yes, we know none of the young position players on the current roster look like star talent, but they are potential supplemental bats for a 2026 Cardinals team or potentially whatever this next contention window. Who are the bats that Chaim Bloom should be looking to keep around? Which are the ones he should be looking to maximize value on? We'll talk about all that on this episode of Dealing the Cards. Welcome into Dealing the Cards. Josh and Andrew are here today. We're missing Sandy tonight, unfortunately, but he's with us in spirit. I know he had a fun topic that we're going to want to do at some point here, but without him tonight, I thought we could kind of hash this conversation that we've kind of had a couple different times throughout the year, right? But I think it's kind of like a status update, then also kind of seeing between. I think this is a multi-layered conversation when you talk about who are the young bats the Cardinals should build around, because on one hand, yes, you want to keep the most talented guys around, but if some of them do some of the same things, or they're not that far apart in theory, or you think maybe there's some more you could tap into, and maybe some of these guys could potentially have more value on the trade market to go get you some of that pitching you lack or some prospect depth. Maybe there are guys where, like, in theory, you like one of the players better than the other, but you're going to trade the one you like more because you know you're going to get more in return for them. I think the Cardinals are kind of in an interesting spot this offseason where they do have quite a bit of position players that they could deal from, but they're not forced to deal any of them. Now, they should deal one. There's not a world, I think you could probably agree with me, there's no world that the Cardinals should come into spring training and have all of these bats still in play. But they do have the ability where it's not like 2 off seasons ago where it's Tyler O'Neill and everyone and their mother knew that Tyler O'Neill was being traded. And then Mo even comes out and was like, yeah, we're trying to get rid of him. Like, it's not one of those situations. It's like, hey, if you give us a really good offer for Nootbaar, sure, he could be available. Same with Gorm, same with Burleson, same with Donovan, same with Jordan Walker's, probably same with Ivan Herrera. Like, again, I'm not saying any of these guys, definitely not saying all these guys will be traded. That's not happening. And I'm not saying any of those guys have to be traded, but which are the ones the Cardinals should build around? So I want to start, Andrew, by asking you, is there one of those guys specifically that you think the Cardinals shouldn't be moving? It could be just because purely off of performance, or maybe there's a guy where you're like, hey, I don't think you can get enough value for that guy to make it worth moving what you potentially could get from that player next year performance wise. So is there a guy that if you're the Cardinals right now, if you're Chaim Bloom coming this offseason, you're being like, I don't know if I want to move that guy? And we're referring to the young core. So we're not talking Mason Wynn. Obviously, we're not talking JJ Weatherholt. He's clearly part of the core next year. We're talking Gorm, Burley, Donnie, Nootbaar, Walker, Herrera, guys like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mason Wynn, but I guess
I feel like that one's like, I don't really see a world where he's traded.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that's a situation where he provides too much value for you defensively, and then just there's still room to grow with the bat. It's been slower as of lately, but 96 OPS plus. I don't know if Fangraphs open for WRC plus, but he's probably the most valuable position player on this team just because he provides some of the best defense in all baseball. Probably a platinum glove contender, if not the favorite to win it at this point. He's like leading every position player in outs above average. So I feel like that's one of the guys you definitely would not want to move. But as for the rest of the guys, I think it depends on what you could get for them. I don't think any of them are necessarily guys you don't want to touch. I think Ivan Herrera would be the guy that I would look at as this is probably the guy that has a skill set that is probably the rarest of all of them if you can play him as a catcher. Now, I don't know if they're actually going to do that because there's questions about, but like, I don't get it. I really don't get it because Pedro Paez, like, sure, he's a good game caller, but his defense really isn't that great. And Pozo is like a fine hitter, but the defense is even worse. So I don't know what they're trying to do with the catcher position next year. I know there's maybe injury concerns. And if that's the case, then I don't know. maybe move him to the outfield or DH. And honestly, I think there's a chance that this latest slump that we've seen from Herrera is not necessarily like this is just the player that he is. It's possible that there's like injuries or he's playing through something, because he's been kind of on and off with injuries all season. But I don't know. I think they should prioritize him as a catcher going into the future, just because that's where he would be the most valuable. And if you have a catcher, even with like an OPS in like the 750s, 760s, that's really, really valuable. But if you're not looking for Herrera as a catcher, I think there's probably not really a guy on this roster that I would be like, oh, I wouldn't necessarily move this guy if the price is right, because what they provide on the field is just not replaceable.
Yeah, I think I agree with you in the sense that pretty much any player could be had. I will say here, I'm gonna run down some numbers, season numbers, last 30, last 15 since June 1, just of these young guys we're talking about to kind of set the landscape. So on the season, Herrera 793 OPS, Burley 786, Donnie 750, Gorm 734, Newt 730, Win 695, and Jordan Walker 607. One of these things is not like the other. Oh boy, I'm not gonna get into it, but we had an episode on that. Since June 1, Wilson Contreras 875. Just want to include that because it's interesting. Burley 820, Gorm 808, Herrera 694. Oof. Donnie 640. Oof. Walker 640. Oof. Last 30, Newt 762. He leads the team among the young players. Gorm 756 in the last 30. Burley 713. Herrera 676 OPS. Walker 638. Donnie down to 496. And last 15, Newt 842 OPS. Burley 807. Gorm 766. Walker 611. Herrera 437. Oof. I share all these to say, I know I kind of ran through them. I kind of think Gorm's a guy you can't move. I think for a couple reasons. Well, okay, I shouldn't say can't move, but I don't see a world where you're getting the offer that makes sense to move him. I think it makes more sense that some team is going to give you good value for Brendan Donovan or Lars Nootbaar. And again, I do not want to trade Brendan Donovan. I'm just going to keep putting that out there. Please don't do it. But I understand the scenario. I just don't like it, and I don't think it's that great of an idea. Lars Nootbaar, I think you're going to get something for him. Alec Burleson, I think a team would like to go get that guy. Ivan Herrera, I think a team would like to go get that guy. Gorm, I bet there's teams that would bet on the power potential, but I just don't know what they'd be willing to sacrifice at this point. And also, when you're looking at what Newt does well, what Burley does well, what Donovan does well, and what JJ Weatherholt's going to do well, all four of those guys profile similarly. They just do it at different ability levels, right? And then they all bring a little bit different things to the game. While Newt can play a little center field and play above average in the corners, while Burley's more average in the corners and plays first base, can't play center. Again, JJ has the high ceiling of those guys. Donnie has the most versatility. He's probably the most consistent of them and the best defender of that bunch. They all have a little bit different skill sets, but at the plate, they're pretty similar in the sense that they are not big power guys, better average and OBP guys hit from the left side. And Gorm is becoming that 3 true outcome hitter that we saw in 2023, where he's got big time power. He's taking his walks again this year, like on a year. I think he's like 94th percentile walk rate, which is where he was at when he was good at the big league level. Last year, he kept expanding the zone and he wasn't taking his walks and swinging at everything, and it was a mess. He's never going to be a guy who doesn't really strike out. He's never really a guy who's going to hit for a high average. But if he's a guy again, I'm not saying he's Kyle Schwarber, but Kyle Schwarber like in the sense that he's hitting a bunch of bombs. He's going to hit a low average, but he's going to get on base a decent amount because he draws a lot of walks. That's a kind of bat that I think the Cardinals kind of lack overall. And I don't know if he's at the team lead of home runs right now, is he? Or he's right at it. And he hasn't really played much this year. And so I kind of think it's just like Gorm's the guy to me that I feel like if you're trying to identify one that doesn't really make sense to move, to me, it's Nolan Gorman because of what he offers to you that other guys don't. And because I just don't think you're going to get the kind of offer in return that would make it worth moving him. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Nolan Gorman was a guy I've been kind of pushing all season that needs to be playing in the lineup. And now that he is in the lineup, like the results are definitely there. You look at the numbers over the last like 15 to 30 games, it's actually quite good. And he started off the year genuinely just being pretty terrible. So definitely seeing a lot of progress and improvement coming from him. Like you said, the walks are up, the strikeouts are down. He's putting the ball in play more. His swing decisions have been a lot better. And he's kind of the guy that I look at as if you need that one left-handed power bat on your roster, that's where you're going to go to get it from. Like maybe JJ Weatherholt is the guy that he is in AAA and he's hitting homers every other day, but I don't know if that's true, right? Like I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. And you're not really going to get that out of a Nootbaar or a Donovan. Like Nootbaar will hit his fair share of homers, but that's not the kind of player he would be at a ceiling, right? That's not his profile. And Gorman's profile is risky, but I don't know if there's another guy with that profile in the upper levels of the minors. Like maybe Rhinel Rodriguez is that guy in like 5 years, but we're not really. That's not what we're looking towards right now.
I guess Joshua Baez is boasting some pretty special power right now. And so I'd say he's maybe the other guy outside of, not maybe, he and Rhinel Rodriguez are the two guys in the system that have legit power. But Joshua Baez is very similar to Tyler O'Neill as a prospect, where it's like that dude is the hit tool going to be enough to get to the power. So there's a lot of variance, but Joshua Baez could end up being the best prospect the Cardinals have in their system, like even better than JJ Weatherholt because of the kind of tools he has. But there's a much higher likelihood he's not even a major leaguer or even an average player than what JJ is. JJ has a much higher floor while also having a high ceiling. But anyways, yeah, I agree with you that there's not really a lot of power, and those two guys are right-handed bats, right? Gorm's a left-handed bat, so there's no left-handed bat in the system with that kind of power.
Right. So like that's definitely a guy that you want to keep playing like they have been doing. And I think, yeah, you're right. I think that's a guy that they should hold on to and pencil in at third base next season, especially if, this Arenado thing ever comes to an end. Hopefully
it will. But, there's no way they go into 2026 with Nato at this point. I think even if there's not going to be a world where like they're going to be able to eat enough money that someone's going to trade for him. But it's going to be a lot of money. So like I have zero doubt that Nolan Arenado's not on the team next year. Or yeah, that he's not on the team next year. I have zero doubt about it. It will be interesting to see how they navigate it though, because depending on how many guys they get rid of, it's still not like a clear roster construction situation, right? Like if they get rid of two of the guys, or if they at least get rid of one of those left-handed bats, it gets a lot easier when you also get rid of Nolan Arenado. I guess the tricky part is what do they do with Jordan Walker? Because if they want Jordan Walker to play every day, then it's tricky. But if they're at a point where Walker's got to earn his spot, kind of like Gorm had to this year, then if he's the outside looking in, then yeah, you have got Burley and Donnie in the corners. You've got Gorm, Wynn, and Weatherholt on the dirt with Contreras. You've got Pajes and Crooks or something like that behind the plate. Yvonne's your DH. Victor Scott's your center fielder. Wynn's your shortstop. I already said that, but he's your shortstop. And Walker's trying to make a spot on there. But if they want Walker to play, then they got to move two of those guys. Actually, no, I'd even actually, sorry, you have to move two of those guys to even make it be that scenario because, oh, no, you don't. I said Burley's a starter in one of the corners, so never mind. But I guess that's maybe my second question, and then maybe we could talk about who are the guys you potentially would trade. How many do you think the Cardinals need to trade? Do they just need to trade one of those guys, or do they really need to cut through the clutter here and make a decision on two or more of them?
I think it depends on like one, what you get for them, and two, whether or not like what you think of some of the like external players. Like if they think Jordan Walker is a guy they still believe in, then yeah, you probably have to move multiple of those guys. If you think Ivan Herrera can catch, which is one of the most frustrating things I have with this team right now, which is like you're not really in the race. Pedro Pajes, like, yeah, he's been hitting well recently, like kind of, but whatever.
You want to know what his OPS is over the last 30 games?
What is it?
960.
Last 30 games?
Yeah.
How many at-bats does he have? Because
It's like 50, but it's still, I was very surprised. It was like, wait, Paz? But because Pozo's been getting more opportunities lately than he had been.
And Pozo hasn't been good.
Yeah.
Like he had that home run last week. I don't know.
Yeah,
because there's still some at bats.
30 days. 890 OPS.
Okay.
53, but it's still way higher than I thought it was.
Yeah. I don't know. I really hope that Pajes isn't having some sort of run right now that's not sustainable, and the team is like, yeah, cool. He's our starting catcher.
Well, I mean, we all know 890 isn't sustainable, but like if Pajes, again, I think the blocking has to get better. He's not really great at controlling the run game. The whole pitch calling thing, it's like you either take him at your word, you don't. Like, I don't care either direction. If he's a near league average catcher behind the plate offensively, then it's fine. But yeah, you're right. There is more upside to Ivan Herrera, and I'm pretty confident that he's not going to catch again. But they haven't said that yet. And so there is a world where it really is like, yeah, there's some things he needs to improve on behind the scenes, and they might be working on some of that with him right now, like game calling. That's something you don't need to, like, they could be consistently having him in those meetings and just getting better and better and better at learning the game. And then part of it is, okay, we want to keep him healthy the rest of the year because we want to keep seeing how good this bat is. And then maybe this offseason they do more of the physical labor side of things, and they come into spring and they see what happens. Again, I think they're not going to go that route, but I wouldn't be shocked if they say, hey, Ivan's going to get another shot behind the plate. And yeah, that optimizes the lineup potentially. You're right. Like, Ivan Herrera has so much more upside as a catcher. I still think he's enough upside as a DH or especially a corner outfielder to be an impact bat. But I get the frustration of the catcher thing. At this point, he has been so bad behind the plate and he has been injured that I also get their side of it. And you do have Crooks and Bernal coming, like, and Bernal's a dude. So like, it's always hard to say like legit, like you're a prospect, especially a catching prospect, is going to be there. But like, we're not talking about what Pajes was a few years ago. Like, Bernal just got voted by AA managers as the best catching prospect at AA, and he's breaking behind the plate too. Switch hitter. I think he's a guy that could be up here in 2026, but it's probably more of a 2027 guy. And then obviously you got Crooks in the mix too, which again, I'm not trying to act like Crooks is going to be like, I don't think Crooks' ceiling is super high. Bernal's, I think, is pretty high, but they both could be good enough catchers that you don't really worry about Ivan being back there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, there is a lot of catching depth. I don't know. I think if you want to give as many opportunities, like, I don't know, we can have this conversation. I'm sure we would have had this conversation if Sandy were here tonight, like more in depth. But like, yeah, the Cardinals are only 4 games out, whatever. But
I want to give it another week before we have that open that can of worms back up.
No, like, it's not they don't have the tiebreaker with the Mets, so they're basically 5 games out. Like, that's how this works. But like, realistically, they should not try to do anything to, like, they should not sacrifice playing time or anything for this season in like against the future, right? Like, they should be prioritizing 2026, 2027, whatever they're doing, instead of trying to go all in on this year or whatever. Like, maybe Ollie's doing that, and if Ollie is doing that, then I would like the organization to give him some amount of clarity, because I don't think anything that he does in the next month and a half should have any bearing on whether or not he's the manager for next year. Like, I don't think, like, if the team is just horrible for the next month and a half, I don't think that Ollie should be fired, because I don't think that really matters. Like, he hasn't been given a good enough roster to have any amount of success at the major league level. And the fact that this team is remotely close to 500 is a miracle anyway. But if they don't want to keep him, I can also kind of understand that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Molina or Pujols wants to manage, and that's an off-season question. But honestly, even if this team does make the playoffs, if Molina wants to manage and Bloom wants him to manage, then it shouldn't matter. Right? Like, that should not be the trajectory of this team either. So they should give him that clarity, and they should just prioritize the future, right? Like, if Herrera is not the catcher, I think he should probably be getting more reps in the outfield. If he is the catcher, then he should, or if he's gonna like they're gonna try it out, then he should be catching like at least some games, right? Like I don't think he's caught since he's come off the IL since the last time. You're muted.
My bad all. They said at the time that they weren't for sure ready to say he was going to catch this year, but it's pretty unlikely because of the fact they want to keep him healthy. And I'm not saying everyone else should have to understand or not understand it. Everyone else has to agree with it. I'm fine with that explanation because he has gotten hurt consistently. And again, it's hard to like, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you that it's because of the catching, but also I'm not like when you keep having lower half injuries, I'm not shocked that catching is putting stress on some of those things a little bit here. So again, I'm fine with it because ultimately the most important thing you need to know about Ivan Herrera is if the bat's that good, because that's part of the reason you would try to catch him again is because you're like, this bat is so good that we can be okay with some of the deficiencies behind the plate. If the bat isn't real, then him being a catcher, then it really puts more pressure on him to be good behind the plate. So anyways, I see that side of it. The guy that I really think that I'm glad they're giving runway to right now, and I think it's important for Bale to move some of this clutter is Nootbaar, because it wasn't that long ago, and I was shaking my head, being like, I do not understand why people are saying this. They're saying they should like basically bench Lars Nootbaar the rest of the year. And I'm like, if you're trying to trade the guy and get maximum value for him, you need him playing so that people can see that he's good. And so again, since June 1, actually I don't have Nootbaar's up since June 1, but on the season his yeah, his season OPS is up to 730 now after a really rough stretch. Last 30 games is a 762 OPS. His last 15 games, 842. Like, he's been hitting really well. And if he finishes the year strong, his numbers are going to look much more like his regular career averages than the dip that he had this year. And even with his dip, he was still slightly above league average at the plate. And so it's kind of, again, I'm not going to keep doing this all night, but it's kind of ironic to me how many people defend Jordan Walker left and right, and he's been so bad. And then Lars Nootbaar was above league average, and they're acting like he's horrible. But it's fine. But I'm saying that as I don't think Nootbaar is the guy you keep next year. I think there's a world where you get better offers for other guys, and you run the Lars Nootbaar experience back again because you just got a lot of pitching for these other guys, and Lars Nootbaar is still a good player. But I think what's going to end up happening is you're going to get good value for Lars Nootbaar because he's a good player. And I think there's going to be a team out there like the Dodgers or the Padres or the Mariners or the Red Sox. I mean, I think there's just going to be contenders out there who want to add a Lars Nootbaar to their lineup. And you're going to be able to get some stuff, though. I get that some of these guys maybe have a little bit of a higher ceiling than Lars Nootbaar did. But again, he's still a good player. He's still got 2 more years of control. He's got the like even for all the potential you talk about with Lars Nootbaar, like go look at the underlying Jordan Walker, look at all the underlying metrics with Lars Nootbaar and how hard he hits the ball, how many walks he takes, like how much damage he's able to do. Like you can actually see those things. And at some point, being able to see success on the field matters. It's like with Alec Burleson, like he consistently has been one of their best hitters all year, 820 OPS since June 1. He's 786 OPS on the year, which is third highest on the team. 713 OPS last 30, which isn't great, but 807 OPS over his last 15. He's a 120 WRC plus guy in the year. Like at some point, those kind of numbers matter. So I think if I were to predict which is the guy that's most likely to be dealt, because I agree again, we went on some tangents, but I agree with you. I think it depends on the offers. You really need to move one. If you want Walker to play consistently next year, you got to move 2. But I think ideally you move 2 either way. And I think the guy to me that makes the most sense to move is Lars Nootbaar, and you got to keep running him in as again, he doesn't have to play every single day, but he should be playing most days right now. So you can up that trade value or get it back. I don't think he's actually lost that much trade value. I think organizations are smart. I don't think they think Lars Nootbaar is terrible or thought he was terrible after a stretch there. But to continue to put a productive Lars Nootbaar in front of potential prospective teams, and then from there, it's like, who do you get the best offer of from Burley, Donovan, Gorm, and then Walker, I guess, in there. It's a tough one. at that point, once you move one of them, then at that point you really like. Once you move one, even though you need to move one for the best kind of value or good value, then you really are in a position of strength, I think, where if a team wants to come in and get another bat, you really are they should be at Hein Bloom's beck and call to say, hey, like we can make it work to have all these bats. So you're going to have to convince me to move Alec Burleson. I'm not trying to do it here. Also, there's been some questions in the chat about the catcher side of things. Bernal and Crooks both need added this offseason. So I'm guessing Yohel Pozo's gone next year, or maybe Pedro Pajes, but probably not Pajes because of how much they love him. But I kind of doubt they're carrying four. Well, it's not impossible to carry four catchers on the 40-man, but we'll see what happens there. So, yeah, the Cardinals are just in a really interesting spot with these young bats next year, and I'm really curious to see what happens with it all. I want to have a little bit of a JJ Weatherholt conversation, and then we can kind of play off anything else we got going on too. But as always, want to thank some of the sponsors of our podcast because they're part of the reason we're able to do this so often. We really appreciate their support, and we really appreciate when you guys support them as well. The presenting sponsor of the Deal in the Cards podcast, as always, is 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. So they're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard and Olivet, open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards. They have the newest selections of packs, boxes, and single cards of local players and stars from all around the league, all kinds of different sports. Andrew's usually throwing up some different cards he's pulled from 314 or bought from their case. They're awesome to work with. I know they do some of those online card trading apps too, or auction apps. You can jump on there. Make sure you go check out 314. Let them know we sent you. Let them know that you heard about them through us. And then we know many of you already shop there, and we love seeing when you pull cards. So make sure you send those our way. And they also do other stuff too. They have different kinds of signed memorabilia and stuff too. So they're a fun place to go check out. They're a great team over there. Make sure to go check out 314. We also want to tell you about one of our other sponsors, and that is Underdog Sports. The Deal in the Cards podcast is proud to be partnered with Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. You're now eligible to play in Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and 37 other U.S. states. You got to check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. You just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can win 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. If that sounds like fun, sign up with our promo code CARDS to claim your first free pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries. Okay. I've got a smash or what's the or bet it or like a bet it or forget it, something like that. I've got a yes or no question for you here. Are you gonna bet it or forget it? I saw this on Baseball America today, and I was like, that's a really interesting thought about JJ Weatherholt. And I want to hear what the chat thinks too. And again, we should not have these expectations. We now should be saying if Andrew says yes to this question, if I say yes to this question, and JJ Weatherholt's not this next year, we shouldn't trash it, right? It's just like, do you think this is possible? And are you going to be like, yeah, I'm going to bet that this happens? It'd be really cool. Andrew, Baseball America said today that JJ Weatherholt is the Cardinals' best prospect, and by this time next year, he might be the best player on their roster. Andrew, would you say that by this time, 2026, JJ Weatherholt is the best player on the Cardinals roster? Yes or no?
What does that say about the Cardinals roster?
Well, fair, but you do have an all-star caliber player in Brendan Donovan. You do have Willis Contreras,
is he really an all-star caliber player, or all the second basemen in the NL just that bad?
Oh, well, his season long numbers have been bad, but when he was voted,
no, I'm saying like
really well.
Yeah, but like the second basemen in the NL are like just that bad, right? Because Mason Wynn had similar numbers, I think, and he wouldn't even like sniff the.
I don't know if their offensive numbers were not similar at that moment. And then also, like, if you look at most rankings, the second baseman right now, most have Donovan top 3, top 4. Like the Shredder had him as number 2 today or the other day.
Guys like Jazz Chisholm. It's like that's not. Okay. I don't. That's because there's not that many good second basemen.
I didn't expect this to turn into a Brendan Donovan in that good conversation.
I like Brendan Donovan a lot. I just don't think he's like a perennial all-star because like I just don't like one. He hasn't been. He's an all-star this year. Like guys make all-star teams but you don't think of them as all-stars, right? Like Aledmus Diaz is not an all-star.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. But I mean, Brendan Donovan pre-injury was like a 130 WRC plus guy.
Yeah.
He was on track to be. He was on track for like 50 doubles. He was going to be over 4-win player on the year. For his career, he's a 118 WRC plus guy. He's 112 on the year, even with his struggles almost all summer long. That's still a really good player. And again, we're talking about
it is.
Like
I just wonder, like,
but like if JJ Weatherholt's a rookie this time of year and he's better than what All-Star Brendan Donovan was, that's not to that. I get what you're saying. What does it say about the state of the roster? And that is a conversation. But if any rookie is that good, like comparable to someone who was an All-Star this year, I don't think that's like, well, what does it say about the roster? I think says a lot about the player.
Well, aside from 2022, Brendan Donovan's been like 12, 13, 14% above league average. Like, that's a good player. Like, that's a very good player that you want.
2023, he was 18% above league average. 2024, he was 15%. In 2023, he was on fire all summer long, and then they put him on the IL because the season was over.
How much of his All-Star like first half was this is him discovering something and going on a hot run and then coming back down to earth and being more like what his career norms are? Like, I don't know.
But I also think, okay, first of all, you haven't answered my question yet. It is the one question.
Yes, I think that is very possible.
But okay,
what does that say about the roster?
Okay, let's talk about that in a second. But with Donovan, I do think it's kind of fishy that the day he went down with his toe injury, his numbers plummeted. I feel like that tells me that
I see that. But also I am just like, his defensive numbers aren't like amazing. Like, he's a good defender. He can play everywhere. Like, that's what makes him a valuable defender. But like, he's not amazing at any one particular position.
Again, before that toe injury, he was top 3 or 4 months all second baseman defensively at second base, an ounce above average at that point. He's kind of fallen off. Again, I think, and he's talked about like it's affecting his body in other places. Again, at the sucky part is if he would have went on the IL, then we wouldn't have to have this debate about.
Right. I mean, I'm not trying to slander Brendan Donovan. Like, I'm just saying, like,
friend of the pod, don't do it.
Exactly. I can't do that.
Anyways,
I collect.
All right, I'm gonna get my JJ Weatherholt again because this is like for content. You're supposed to answer the question. It's not about the question. Now we've talked about Brendan Donovan. Okay. But I'm gonna say again, please hear me and recognize that we should not have this as the expectation. We're having a fun conversation and thinking about kind of hypothetically what could be happening here. And I think it's for sure in the range of outcomes because of how high I am on JJ Weatherholt that he is the Cardinals' best player on the team this time next year. Now, if I had to bet, the best player on the Cardinals will probably be Mason Wynn, Brendan Donovan, maybe Wilson Contreras. That's probably the list of guys that I would feel pretty confident to say would be better than him. Maybe Alec Burleson. But yeah, I think JJ Weatherholt could be the best player on the Cardinals next year. And to your point, Andrew, yes, that does say something about the roster. We can get to that. But again, I've seen in the chat, like a couple people said, like, well, or like Chris said, like, didn't they say the same thing about Walker? Like, some people did. Like, Jim Bowden thought Jordan Walker was going to be incredible as rookie year. Baseball America had Jordan Walker ranked highly, but I don't really. Again, I'm having to go back and look and do my homework. I don't think they were trying to say Jordan Walker was going to be amazing to start his big league career. And Jordan Walker skipped AA. He was a 20-year-old. Like, JJ Weatherholt, I'm going to pull it up now because I want to just say the numbers because they are absolutely insane in college. And it was the reason he was supposed to go 1-1 before his junior year where he had an injury. But his sophomore year of college, here's his slash line. His batting average was 449. His on-base percentage was 517. His slug was 787 in the Big 12 for a 187 WRC plus. Dude, a 787 slug. If JJ Weatherholt has a 787 OPS next year, that'll be incredible. That was his slug. Again, that was college. But they were talking about this is the most advanced college bat we've seen in quite some time. Has a hamstring injury, which then their scouts get all kind of weird about it. And people pass on him. He falls to the Cardinals. He comes into their system and starts raking from the moment he gets here. And then scouts have observed like he is tapping into power in a way that he hadn't before. It doesn't feel fake either because they're looking under the hood. And we talked about this a little bit, I think last time, his swing decisions. He's taking hacks his A+ swings at pitches he knows he can crush, and then he's using his elite feel for the strike zone and bat to ball skills to foul off or just do what he can with bad pitches so that he can attack the ones that he can do damage with. I remember Kyle Reese and he's posted quite a bit. Like whenever JJ hits home run, he'll post and it's like, well, that was kind of a meatball. But that's actually kind of part of JJ Weatherholt's superpower is that like when you watch Jordan Walker and he watches a fastball go down the middle and it's like, why don't you swing at that, dude? Like JJ's ready to crank that. And if he doesn't get that pitch, he's going to foul off whatever it is. So he keeps a pitcher coming after him until he gets the pitch he wants to crush. Again, I'm not saying JJ Weatherholt's can be a top 10 player in all baseball, top 20 player in all baseball kind of thing. But again, I'm seeing some things here about, like, again, they were hyped about Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker grew into a top 5 prospect in baseball over multiple years. He was drafted in 2020. He wasn't a top 5 prospect in all baseball until going into the 2023 season. He was drafted at the back of the first round as a raw prospect. JJ Weatherholt entered the Cardinals system as a top 20 prospect in all baseball. Jordan Walker was not even a top 100 prospect. Neither was Dylan Carlson, neither was Nolan Gorman. And then he just did everything to prove, yeah, he's that dude. I think this is a different level of prospect than what the Cardinals have. It doesn't mean it will pan out, but I think there should be a higher level of excitement with JJ Weatherholt, in my opinion, than even Walker was. And I really don't think this is revisionist history. I've admitted before, I feel like I was one of the people in the wrong to say Jordan Walker should have been on the opening day roster in 2023. And we never will know what would have happened if they would have just kept him in AAA, let him work it through it. Before he gets to the bright lights of the major league level, he continues to make those changes. But even then, like, we keep hearing these things that like Jordan Walker just doesn't really adopt and stick with the changes he needs to make. And JJ Weatherholt's like as clean of a prospect as we continue to see. They are different guys. I don't like the comparison. They're different guys. So yeah, I do think there's a pretty good, no, I shouldn't say a pretty good shot. I would not be surprised at all if JJ Weatherholt's their best player next year. Should it be the expectation? No. But like, again, you're talking about like legit, like we're not talking about Cardinals fans who are like, oh, JJ Weatherholt's really awesome. And look at the numbers. Like legit guys who do this for a living are looking at JJ Weatherholt and saying that dude went from a potential top of the order beast long term to now he might be a middle of the order bat for a contender. Like, and they don't just throw those kind of evaluations around. Like guys like Jeff Ponce and JJ Cooper over at Baseball America, like those guys, they don't overhype guys. They don't buy into the OPS numbers and the average. Like they're taking the feedback from people in the industry, internal feedback, their own eyes, their own data, and they've got JJ Weatherholt as one of the top 5 prospects in all baseball and a true potential difference maker. And so, yeah, to your point, Andrew, when you look at the state of this roster and there's limited ceilings on a lot of these guys, I think there's a pretty good chance that JJ Weatherholt's their best player next year. By this time next year, he may not probably won't start the year that good, but he might be hitting his stride by this point.
I just saw this in the comments, and I see this all the time on Twitter, and I hate it when people say, "Oh, that he's the next Albert Pujols." I was like, can we take a moment and realize that, like, in the entire league, there's maybe like 3 guys currently playing that have had like the same, like that, like have had similar careers to Albert Pujols, like at this point.
Yeah, and Samuel was saying that people are saying about Walker, would he be the next Pujols? Which again, that was like, but even then, like not like people like Baseball America weren't saying that. It was like Cardinals.
Like what I'm trying to say is like the chances that the Cardinals will find another Albert Pujols type player in the next like 40 years is probably very low.
Yeah, you're right.
And like in the league right now, how many players could draw an Albert Pujols comp that are just pure position players? We're not going to count the one guy who, anyway, like Mike Trout and Aaron Judge. And that's like too. Literally it. I can't think of another hitter that would comp to that. Yeah. Right? Like, I don't know. Ohtani doesn't come into that conversation as a hitter alone, I don't think.
But like, so you're right. Like, and it sucks because the Cardinals haven't, like, the next guy they developed that was like a true homegrown bat was Matt Carpenter. And so like, it's not flashy or sounds very complimentary to say he's the next, or he's the best guy since, or the heir apparent to Matt Carpenter, even though I think people severely underrate how good Matt Carpenter was. And so that actually is like if JJ Weatherholt, if you told me today But you could smash one button in JJ's Matt Carpenter, and the other button is risk it for more. I would smash the Matt Carpenter button because that's a really, really good player. Like, you're not guaranteed that JJ Weatherholt does anything. So if you guarantee me the career of Matt Carpenter, I will take that right now. I think he can do more, but I would take that. Now again, to go to that point though, when you look at other organizations, like, can JJ Weatherholt be the Cardinals' Alex Bregman? Can he be their, another Astro, but Kyle Tucker? Can he be there?
Kyle Tucker, I actually want to talk about like in a different.
We can talk about how bad he's been lately, but I'm talking about like that caliber player over a career that he's been developed. Like, can he be? We don't need to compare everyone to an all-time great. Can he be a perennial all-star, really good player on a really good team? Yeah, I think he can be, and it's just really interesting to see the changes he's made this year. And again, I think he's more of a 1-2 type hitter, right? Like leadoff hitter, 2-hole hitter. But again, this power that he's tapping into now, and extra base hit ability, like, he's not going to be, if he's a 3-hole hitter, he's not the 35-40 home run 3-hole hitter, but he's either 25 to 28 home run, maybe more like 22 to 26 home run guy who hits like 40 doubles, but also hits for that like top 5 average in all of baseball. And so, like, yeah, he doesn't quite hit the power numbers that other people do, but he hits at such a high average with the doubles too, and way more home runs than what Brendan Donovan would have given you, that like he is a real middle of the order bat, and he doesn't strike out ever and draws his walks. Yeah, I think he can be that guy. And so it's pretty exciting. But again, no one should be, especially year one of a guy like that, no one should be saying like, oh, he's going to be the perfect 3-hole hitter or the best player in the Cardinals. But I do think there's a real world where he ends up being that. Also, I don't know if you saw this the other day, but in that manager thing, I talked about where good old Leonardo Bernal was ranked the best catching or defensive catcher in the minor leagues last year. Managers voted JJ as the best batting prospect, the most exciting prospect, and the best strike zone judgment of all AA this year. Like, he's getting high praise from other organizations of looking at that guy and saying, he's not only the best guy, he's also the most exciting guy. So he's not just like, oh, he's been really good, but he's not like the highest potential. It's like, no, this guy is awesome right now. He has a bright future, and he controls the strike zone better than anyone else. And he's now tapping into that power in a way that's legit. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think a lot of Cardinals fans are jaded by Jordan Walker.
Yeah.
And some of them have still not given up on Jordan Walker yet, which I don't know. Maybe like I think I don't know. I think we should just ban the top 100, like, people from looking at that. Like, it should just not be allowed, because like it doesn't serve the prospects any good. It doesn't serve the fans any good, because like someone like the best players in the Cardinals, I don't think were ever on the top 100. Maybe, yeah, Mason Wynn was, but like Brendan Donovan was never on the top 100.
Burley was.
Lars Nootbaar was never on the top. Was he? Burleson was?
He was a back end, the 100 guy.
Okay. But
you're right. Like, yeah, like Walker.
The guys that have been ranked the highest, like Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, Matthew Liberatore, are not the guys that are necessarily producing the most for you currently. And that doesn't mean that they won't produce the most for you later on, but like Tink Hence is probably not going to produce as much. And he was like a top 50 guy, I think, at one point. And like, yeah, he got hurt. But like, there's so much variability and stuff that happens with these prospects that like, it doesn't, like, I don't care where you were ranked like 3 years ago. It doesn't matter. Like, Tink Hence has fallen off that. Like, he's like a borderline top 10 prospect in the Cardinal system now, which, like, there's guys ahead of him that you never thought would have been ahead of him like a couple years ago. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And a couple things with that too. Like, again, I just don't think people talk about this enough, that it literally has not been since 1998 that the Cardinals drafted that high. So we're talking about they had access to a different kind of talent than they've had. And I know, obviously you can hit on prospects in every round. So yeah, you can come up with examples of stars in any round. But there's something to be said about when the industry looks at the top 5 or, well, again, a guy who is even on draft night rumored to go 101, but definitely in the process before the hamstring injury was the favorite to go 101, falls to at 107, and is not a high school player, but a college player that's been that advanced. I don't think it's crazy to say this is a different situation. It doesn't mean it doesn't guarantee success, but it's not. I don't like when people say, well, it's just the same thing as what Jordan Walker was. It's like, no, they're completely different players in completely different situations and different career or different trajectories to where they got to this point of being a top 5 prospect in baseball. So it's not the same, but it doesn't guarantee success. But like JJ Weatherholt has way more in common with Corbin Carroll and Alex Bregman as prospects than Jordan Walker, because those guys were drafted highly out of college, exciting players that were seen as top talents immediately when they're added to farm systems and then prove they were those guys when they're at the minor league level. Jordan Walker was a super raw guy who ended up producing at the low levels of the minor leagues, which again, JJ's not been at AAA very long, and then skipped a whole level to make it to the major leagues at extremely young age when JJ is 2 years older than Walker was when he debuted, and had multiple years of college experience at a super high level and has produced at every minor league level, including now AAA. Again, I think they're just different players. Again, it doesn't mean they'll end up panning out, but they're different situations to me. So that's where I don't see that being a fair comparison. And also something I want to throw in here that I think is another random side note. It's a good point from Adam. Build around her. He said build around like Herrera, Wynn, Doyle, JJ. Everyone's spent for the right price. But here's the point he made. Bloom can't fix this in a year or two. It took him 5 years in Boston. Probably still won't make the playoffs. Now, here's part of the advantage for Bloom. Bloom came in 2019 to run the Red Sox coming over from the Rays that offseason. Bloom's been here for 2 years already. He was here all of 2023, all of 2024. And then he was the Pobo and waiting 2025. So 2024, he got a full year to audit the organization. 2025, he's got a full year to already implement player development changes. So by the time he takes over as the Pobo, he's way ahead of the curve than compared to what most people do stepping into a role like this. And so I do think it's going to take time. I really do. But I don't think I think we're like, realistically, I think we're at least 1 year in, if not 2 years into Bloom's regime. Again, it's a stuttered start, right? It's not a full start, but especially at the minor league levels, which is the thing that needs transformed the most to get this team to where it needs to go. Like they're already starting to reap some of those rewards. He's already got a draft under his belt. He's already got some of these player development changes under his belt. He's already got some of his new staff under his belt. So I think that accelerates changes in a way that and again, it only took him 4 years to make Boston's farm system go for 30th in all baseball to first in all baseball. And the Cardinals are sitting right now I saw Baseball America the other day put out their farm system rankings, and they're 14th. So you're talking about like a middle of the pack farm system, which again, it's rankings, it's whatever. But I mean, and then you're seeing this year, do you think it's a coincidence that all like, again, the high end pitching prospects the Cardinals have had or have been hurt most of the year, but like you'll look at the minor league levels or lower levels of Bryson Motts and that Dukanich, Crossland they just drafted, but he just started tonight and had an awesome start for Double A Springfield. I'm totally blanking his name right now. I'm gonna pull it up here. Cade Winquist, Isan Henderson. Like you have these different guys this year who are like really looking like improved and have taken a step forward and raised their ceilings. I don't think it's a coincidence. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Joshua Baez, who's went from basically a lost prospect who wasn't even in top 30s anymore to now like again, Baseball America today or this week just said he's maybe a top 100 prospect here soon. Like Reinel Rodriguez taking his step forward. JJ Weather will be awesome. Like, do you think that's a coincidence? I don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely think that, there's good things happening down in the lower levels of the minor leagues, and hopefully Bloom can make a couple savvy signings. I know that's not what he's necessarily known for. Some of the contracts he signed in Boston didn't age too well, but I don't know. Hopefully he's learned from that talent evaluation. He's got guys working around him now. Hopefully they can recognize some good talent, maybe find the next Matthew Boyd, find the next like guys that can at least make the Cardinals interesting next year. But I think that like even some of the guys that they've gotten in the trade deadline this season, which, by the way, they just completely scammed the Mets. Like, the hell's the implosion was kind of scheduled, but just based on all the metrics that we saw. But hopefully some of the guys that they got at the trade deadline, some of the guys that they can get this offseason, if they move a bat or two, can accelerate this. But I think there's good things happening down in the system, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, but also I wouldn't like the big contracts for Bloom, definitely like Trevor Story and Yoshida type things. Like that wasn't good, obviously, but like he did hit on like like Adam Duvall came and had a career year for them, and like Hunter Renfroe ended up reviving his career with them, and Justin Turner was really good for them. He flipped a Christian Vasquez to get a Willie Abreu. He drafts a Roman Anthony 70, like in the 70s, I think. Marcel Mayer and Kyle Teal were like top 15 picks, but then Christian Campbell was like a 3rd round pick or something like that. Like, and then again, he was a part of that. He's really done a lot with the Rays pitching or Red Sox pitching development. You see Brian Bayo and some of these guys that are really were with Bloom for a while that are kind of popping off. And again, I'm not to say that the current Red Sox regime isn't a part of that, so that's hard. But then also he's with Tampa that consistently squeeze the most out of their lemons compared to anyone else, and would get things at discounted rates and get a lot more out of them. So I do think Bloom could be a guy this offseason I trust to do more than what Mo has in terms of making the most of free agent signings and doing those Phil Maton type signings that worked out, which again, Mo did that this year, but like, can they do more of those types of things? I think they can under Bloom. And you know what? They won't trade for Kyle Tucker to be terrible for them. He's been really bad lately. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they signed. Is Kyle Tucker playing himself into the Cardinals price range? I don't know.
No. But
do you think like what if he gets like a mega deal from Chicago and he's just awful? Like that would be really funny.
I mean, that would be the dream. But it's like when Dansby Swanson signed there. I was so happy. Which I have my receipts. I remember I wrote something where I was like, because there was a little rumor out there that if the Cardinals didn't go after if they traded for a catcher, they might sign Dansby Swanson. And I was like, no, that would be a terrible decision. And very glad I said that because he's been, I mean, he's fine. He's way overpaid.
It would have been fun if they signed. Well, maybe they should still sign PCA for a lot, and he just turns into Javier Baez. But
I'm a little bit worried about the Cubs. I'm afraid that the Brewers. Well, I'm not really wanting the Brewers to do all that well.
They're like 6 games ahead of them still, right?
Yeah,
like 7?
I'm not necessarily worried about the Cubs winning the division. I'm worried that they got cold at the quote unquote at the right time, and they're going to heat up by the time the postseason comes around. And like the Brewers might have gotten hot at the wrong time, like too early.
I don't care. If the Cubs lose, then the Cubs lose. The Brewers lose early. Like I don't want either of them to win the World Series.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like as the Brewers have been so hot recently, I would be worried if I'm following them. I was like, did we get hot too soon? With the Cubs, I'm worried as someone who does not want them to do well that they are going to get hot at the right time. So we'll see. But yeah, you're right, Samuel. We'll be in a different division soon. When Manfred puts the Cardinals with the Royals, the Rangers, and the Astros or something weird.
Hey, like that. I think there's a chance we end up in the same division as the Rockies, which would be great.
That'd be crazy.
They're like kind of close. Like there's not a lot of teams close to Colorado, so could end up that way. Just do the White Sox, the Cardinals, the Royals, and the Rockies. That would be a great division.
Just beat up on everyone. I saw someone the other day where like, oh, you said it. Is that when you saw did you see the one where they circled like?
Yeah, the Mariners with like the Rockies, the Pirates, the Nationals, and like the White Sox.
Someone did that for the Cardinals though, where they put up with all of them. I mean, it kind of made a line. I was like, okay, I can see it. But oh man.
Am I concerned about the Dodgers losing the Rockies? No, I'm not.
I did see that there's I think Jason Stark thinks that if they expand that it'll bring the season's number of games down, that it would be the end of 162 and you'd be at 156, I think. Which isn't a huge
I saw a graphic on the broadcast today that said the Cardinals like score the second most runs per game when playing interleague games. So Sandy, I'm sorry, your take about interleague play is terrible, and I think all of the games should actually be interleague. There should be no in division games, no National League games.
Yeah,
all 162 games should be played against the American League, actually.
Yeah, I mean, especially since they can't beat the Rockies, so like the in the National League games aren't even winning the easy one, and they've dropped one to the Marlins. It's like the two teams. Well, I guess the Marlins have been fine this year, but well, not really. But they're not one of the worst teams. Whatever. Anyways, anything else you want to talk about tonight? I feel like we've covered most bases. I didn't want to talk about them before 4.5 out yet because I'm like, let's just give it some more time.
Who are they playing next? The Pirates?
I think they have a pretty weak schedule coming.
I think it's the Pirates.
Yeah, it's the Pirates, and then are the Reds right after? I know the Reds are coming up.
Oh, this was the easy stretch. This is what I was talking about. You just sweep the Rockies and then take care of business against the Yankees, the Marlins, and the Rays, and then you're like close to a playoff spot. They just got swept by the Yankees and lost to the Rockies. So
yeah, well, that's
how much for that one?
Because if you take 2 from the Rockies, it's like okay, you still get not. If you even take 2 from the Rockies, you're 3.5 back. If you swept the Rockies like you should have, you're 2.5 back right now. If you take 1 from the Yankees like you should have, you're 1.5 back. It's just crazy that they drop those. But yeah, they do still have the easy stretch. But then after that, Andrew, it goes San Francisco, which is not easy, but not bad. Seattle, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, San Francisco, away at Chicago at the end of the year. Oof.
Didn't they win their 17 games in a row against like the Dodgers, the Padres, and like some of those really good teams? And like the Reds who are still in the mix, and like the Brewers back in 2021.
Like that. Yeah, but I mean,
I remember there were a lot of good teams that they played. So,
let's be honest, they're probably not going to have 2 17-game win streaks in a decade, but you never know.
They could have 6.
The Cardinals are 4 games out, not 4.5 out of their wild card right now, which is kind of
I need the Cardinals to be within like 3 games of a playoff spot. So when we do end of season awards and like we do our who's to blame for the Cardinals missing the playoffs, I can say Eric Fetty. That's all. That's all I want to do. If they're more than that out, then I can't really blame one guy, but I would certainly like to.
Oh man, I'm gonna look like a buffoon if they make the playoffs because I definitely said I'd be fine to be out of town out of the country. In fact, because they're not making.
I think the wild card series is actually before you leave. So
we'll
get those 3 games get booted out because it starts in September.
Beautiful.
And then.
Oh yeah, it would start in September because the season ends on the 28th. Yeah. So I guess as long as they start on that Tuesday, they should get all 3 games in before I leave. Okay.
Yeah.
Or all 2 games in because they'll get swept. But anyways,
they're going to face the Mets in the wild card series. The Cubs are going to fall out of contention. It's going to be the Mets is the first wild card and the Cardinals is the second wild card. And they're also going to pass who else is in that race right now? The Padres. And and Jose Fermin in game 1. The Mets are going to have the 2-0 lead. And Jose Fermin is going to be in the game against Ryan Helsley.
Oh my gosh.
And the Cardinals are going to score like 6 runs.
We're laughing now, but there is a world, a very small one, where Andrew gets to pull the clip from this and post it and see me laughing at him, and it really happened. Wow, wouldn't that be incredible? Right, Helsley comes out the purple lights or whatever. Oh man. On that note, like and subscribe helps channel a ton. We really appreciate the support as always. Make sure you go check out 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles. Make sure you use our promo code cards on Underdog. They're an awesome sponsor. Also, SeatGeek. You can use our code NewtNews if you're interested in going to a baseball game at the end of the year or any sporting event or concert. You save $20 on a purchase of $50 or more, so you can go get a better ticket than you normally would, or you can buy tickets for the family or for some friends.
I buy like 12 tickets at the Cardinals game to get that much, but go for
it. Oh boy. Anyways, but seriously, like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. We really appreciate the support as always. We'll be back this weekend to kind of recap this Rays series. And who knows, maybe the Cardinals are within striking distance of a playoff spot by then. We'll see. But until then, see you guys next time.